y'all, it's me, Alex. I just filmed a live stream and I don't want to let this beautiful makeup look go to waste, so we're gonna film a video. Well, I'm gonna film a video, you're gonna watch a video about wish list products that have survived my anti-hauls. I have 5 things here that I want to talk about, but y'all know that the anti-hauls that I do here on this channel are largely all products that I actually really want, because I always find that it is very easy to go ahead and, list all of the reasons that you shouldn't buy something if you don't want it. But if it's something that you do want, it's really hard to talk yourself out of it. And so I think that that has been super beneficial for me, because I would say that since I started doing this series like last year or so, I have been able to successfully talk myself out of like 90% of things that I really want, and really cut down my makeup spending to things that I do genuinely really want and enjoy, because I think, I'm able to analyze why I want something, what draws me in, do I have something already? But there are a few things that are still very much on my mind that I'm still thinking about. Oh, hello, Ivy. There's a cat behind me, so you might see her. She might share some opinions too. But there are some things that have survived my anti-hauls that I still want, and I think that if I were to purchase them now, I would actually go into it and like actually get something out of it. Like it would bring something new into my collection, or at least I would understand the reasons why I want the thing. There are 5 things on this list. Let's get started. So first up, well, all of these are eyeshadow palettes. Surprise, surprise, have you noticed my face ever? I used to want a lot of weird lipstick, and I still kind of do, but masks make that kind of difficult. First one, the Huda Beauty Wild Obsessions mini palette. This specifically is the mini, I think it's a Panther one, the one that's like smoky tones, because I have a couple of other ones that are more bright and colorful, which I think are really pretty. But the one that I want the most is like the one with like the taupey grayish smoky with a little bit of purple in their tones. I think that that is actually a good thing to have survived all of my anti-hauls, because I realized, one, I really love the Huda Beauty shadow formula. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I've heard pretty decent reviews overall around like this entire range of her mini palettes, so like that's good. I feel like her mini palettes in general do better than her big palettes, so that's a point in her favor. But I also know that this one, it really would actually kind of fill what tiny void that there is in my collection. When I say that there's a void in my collection, I'm saying that that product is freaking special. I have a big makeup collection and I don't exactly have a lot of gaps in there. I love anything in purple, so I would use that kind of aspect to it, that they're more like pewter to lavender tones in the shimmers, which I think are really pretty. And I genuinely don't own a whole lot of grayish taupey shadows. I got rid of a lot of them when I went teal with my hair. Part of that is that I do think that warmer tones on like the opposite end of the color wheel do genuinely look a bit better with me, with this hair on me. But I also, one, I miss doing those sort of taupey smoky looks. 2, I also haven't done quite as many, because I think the trends in the last few years have leaned a lot towards warm tone neutrals, and we're only kind of just pulling out of that in the beauty community, so there are more options. Because before we just had like the Urban Decay Naked Smoky palette, which I have, and I like that color scheme, but let's be honest, shadows aren't the greatest quality. At least in terms of what we know today in eyeshadows. I'm still digging that little Huda Beauty palette. Why did I say Huda Beauty palette? One day I'll learn how to talk. Okay, so another palette that I'm still very deeply interested in for a lot of the same reasons is the Melt Cosmetics Mary Jane palette. I said this when I talked about it when it first came out. While I am not one who indulges in weed as my vice particularly, I do appreciate that Melt does a lot of weed themed palettes, simply because they're always colors that I really enjoy, regardless of whatever quality that they have, because I know that their quality is rather hit or miss. And this is one of the ones that has been pretty hit and miss in terms of reviews, is the Melt Mary Jane, because that's their like taupey gray chunky shimmer, and a lot of people don't like it simply because the shimmers are so chunky that they can look very wrinkly on your eyes really easily, and those are actually the sorts of shimmers that I love. I know people love Melt's mattes, but I personally like their shimmer formula even more because when they do those really like chunky, messy shimmers, like the really soft ones that break easily, I love those. I live for those sorts of shadows. Like, I understand that like I have very smooth lids, so I feel like I can have a bit of an easier time with shades like that. I get it, but I love a good chunky shimmer. I've kind of watched like every review that exists of this palette simply to figure out if that's like the only problem that people have with it, and it seems like that's the one problem. Now, it's $58, which I'm not gonna pay full retail price for, like, ever, unless like my economic situation really changes, like I'm suddenly become a very rich person, then I might say, oh, I'll buy $58 palettes full price. I'm not going to. But the next sale that Melt has, because they have sales pretty often for like most holidays, that I'll pick up because it, much like the Huda Beauty palette, it will fill a void in my collection. And it is something that I will get a lot of use out of because I think that those shades are really pretty and very unique in comparison to what I already have. Okay, so here's a wishlist product that I actually just ordered and I'm waiting for it to come in. And I anti-hauled this so hard, so there's a bit of shame here. This is not just like an informative video, this is also a confessional. I should have warned you of that from the beginning, but this is a confessional video. You are my priest right now, YouTube. But the Colourpop Animal Crossing collection. Specifically the palette La Belle of the Ball, the little purple quad. I anti-hauled the crap out of this. And yet, this last week, when Colourpop put so many things on their $5 sale, well, guess what I bought? The little purple quad with all of the hedgehogs on it. I love it so much. One of it's a pressed glitter, so I might not even end up using it. I know I have a million purples in my collection. I know that I could just take one of my current purple palettes and just slap some Animal Crossing stickers on it and have it go. I'm sorry, for $5, I couldn't freaking resist that. That was beautiful. It has purple and hedgehogs. It's purple and Animal Crossing. At least I know that because I know I have that in my collection a million times over. They're colors that I like and will use. Obviously, I'm a purple fiend, so. That wasn't my finest moment. I'm also pretty certain I anti-hauled the other thing I bought from there. I didn't specifically put this down, but I also bought their Powerpuff Girls palette. Now that one is an even more of like a shame purchase because that one was also $5. And I wanted it because Powerpuff Girls and nostalgia, and I haven't bought a whole lot of fun things recently, so I wanted to enjoy myself. There was no justification for it because that one is a bit lighter than what I normally go for, but it'll be fun. Next up in the purple shame of what I still want, none of my friends are helping me with this, but the Viseart Violette palette. The little mini palette. I love Viseart shadows so much. I normally don't think it's worth it to pay a lot of money for eyeshadow, but Viseart mini palettes, I have their Dark Edit one right here. Like, it's so expensive for what it is, but it is fantastic. Like, I've never not liked a look I've done with this palette. And that's how I feel about Viseart in general. Like, are the shadows expensive? Yes. But if you find a color story that you like and you will use, it is worth it. The other palette that got me into having the bug for this is the Collidos Lunar Lavender because it has the combination purple brown, which I decided to buy this first because I didn't know if I would, in a purple brown palette, would I use the browns as much as I use the purples? The answer is yes. So I know that technically between these two I should like be covered theoretically. However, the fact that I own and use both of these makes me want the Violette palette even more. And I have seen so many people who I respect and admire use that palette and love it that it's very, very, very hard for me to resist temptation. So even though I know that I have a lot in my collection that's very similar, I also know that I will use it and I will enjoy it, even if it is, quite frankly, very repetitive. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about is the Colourpop and Lizzie Mcguire palette. Another Colourpop palette that, quite frankly, if that had gone on the $5 sale, ugh. That one I anti-hauled aggressively as well, probably just as aggressively as I anti-hauled the Animal Crossing collection. Because this entire freaking year, I was talking about this with my mom on the phone the other night, but this entire year, Colourpop has just come for my entire childhood. I understand that being a millennial Gen Z cusp person, I am right in the middle of Colourpop's target demographic. Add on to the fact that I, like, am on a budget. You know, they're like, hey, let's go for this person. Let's target them very specifically. Animal Crossing, Lizzie McGuire, and the Powerpuff Girls were my entire childhood. Do you understand how much self-control I have had this entire year? All of 2021. Specifically not to buy all of that stuff from Colourpop. I'm proud of myself that I have made it this far, that I made it to December 20th before I cracked and bought the Powerpuff Girls and the Animal Crossing palettes. The only thing that is stopping me from getting that Lizzie McGuire palette is the fact that it's not on sale. And I know Colourpop will likely have it on sale sometime in the near future. That color story is just absolutely delightful. Every person who I watch, because I try and watch a lot of reviews of products that I really want to determine if it would actually work for me or not. That's how I've come to a lot of the conclusions that I'm talking about here. But I feel like it was so distinctive. Every person who used it, even if they didn't specifically like mention it in the title of their video, you could tell that it was the Colourpop Lizzie McGuire palette, that it wasn't just some like random purpley pinky green palette. Like there was a very specific look, and I feel like they captured the aesthetic of Lizzie McGuire very, very, very well. So I think that that was just like very well done. I do wish that there were a few more deeper shades in there, but nostalgia is a hell of a drug, folks. So let me know down below if there's anything that you've ever anti-haul that you ended up buying. This is a confessional. Here, confess your sins. We won't judge. You won't be sentenced to eternal damnation over an eyeshadow palette. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I might make that like a thing where like every year I like do an anti-haul every couple of months or so, and then at the end of the year I see if anything has like survived my anti-hauls. I think that would be super fun. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. And I'll see y'all in my next one. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Bye!